Hello everybody! Welcome to another video from Code Shots with Profanis. In the previous video, we saw how to use the environmental variables in an Angular application. This is a great way, but it requires to redeploy the application every time we need to do any changes. In this video, we will see how to change the site settings live while the application is deployed. Our application will depend on a config.json file, which will have all the needed site settings. We will use the app initializer token, and at the end of this video, you will see how to achieve this. So, let's get started. We will start working into the providers of the app module, and we'll have to provide the app initializer token. We do this by using the provide app initializer. This is the token that we have to provide. And then we have to use a factory. And this factory, we should return a function, and this function will have a promise. And the promise has one argument, the resolve and the reject. At first, let's use only the resolve, and we will go step by step. And for this reason, we will have here just a resolve true and a console log, just to make sure that everything works well, and we will have the message "Hi there." Please note here that the app initializer is already being used by the application itself, and for this reason we have to have here the flag multi-true, just to tell the framework, you know what, the app initializer will have more than one instances, and you should pay attention to all instances. So let's now go to the browser to see what we have. And here we have the "Hey there." It seems that everything works well. Nice. Let's now go to the app component, and I will simply have the same message here, "Hey there." And I want to explain something. Let's go to the browser, and this is it. Here we have it. How about now if into the app module, for any reason, we forgot to have the resolve true? Let's go to the browser, and as we can see, we have here the message in the console log, but we do not have it into the application. The application got hung. And this is one of the reasons that we should pay attention on the app initializer. If we do any mistake, most probably the application will crash, will hang. So please just pay attention on this one and how to use it. So this is the very first step. The second step is to make sure that the application will load the settings of a configuration file. So here I have the config.json, which has the base URL http dev.api. Somehow we have to load this file here. How can we do this? We will use the require. And inside the promise, I will have the const, I will name my variable settings equals to require. And I know that my path is 2 steps back, and I will have to provide the name of the file, config.json. And let's give it a try and console log, instead of header, console log the settings. If we open the terminal, we see that we have an error message, which says that cannot find name required. Do you need to install type definitions for Node? Yes, we do. So I will copy this, which is the first step. And then we also have to add Node to the types field in tsconfig. So let's do both of them. The first is to install the types node. And the second step is to go to the tsconfig app. Sorry, let me have this here. Into the tsconfig app and type here node. Okay, so let's close this, and let's rerun the application. So if we now go to the browser, we see that here we have the base URL. Great. So it seems that we currently have all the settings, which is the very first step. And since we have the settings here, we need somehow to bridge these settings with the rest of the application. let's say that I want into my app component to use the base URL. How can I do this? We will use a service for this. So I will create here my service and I will name it settings.service.ts, and this is going to be just a class settings service, and I need to have my injectable decorator, and I want this to be a singleton provided in root. The only thing that I want to have here is the base URL, which is of type string or undefined, and I have to inject the settings service, let's close everything, into the app module. Since we have the factory, we can utilize the inject function, the inject method of Angular 14. So this is going to be my settings service equals inject the settings service. Now we have the instance of this service and we can use it here, the settings service dot base URL, and I want to provide here the value from settings dot, and let's scroll down, open the config.json, and this is the property, base URL. So this is it, and let's remove the console log from here, we no longer need this. Since we have now the settings service base URL set, we can go and inject into the app component, or wherever we prefer, into the constructor. I will have here my settings service. Nice. And perhaps we can have here something like, this is my setting. Which setting? And this is going to be my settings service base URL. Let's go to the browser to see what we have. And here it is. This is my setting, which is the dev.api. Great. So let's close this and let's focus again into the app module. This is how we manage to load the configuration file for the local environment. And you might be wondering, are we going to keep the same functionality for UAT, production, or any other deployed environment? And the answer is no. We will use two different ways. To load the settings for a deployed app, we will use an HTTP client and we will use the get verb to get the config.json file. And since we need to have the HTTP client, of course we'll have to inject it. So let's do this here. HTTP client, and here we need to have my HTTP. So I will start typing now the code that we need to load the configuration file, and I will explain later what is happening. So this is the code that we have to use to load the configuration file. We use the HTTP GET, this is our file, and then into a tab operator we are getting the data. For now we use just any, and we are providing into the settings service base URL the base URL from our data. And as we said, this is the code that we're going to use for a deployed app, and this is the code that we're going to use for a local app. And we need here to have a condition. And the condition that I'm going to use is that if my environment.production, so if I have the production to true, use this code, otherwise use this code. And please pay attention that the production in the local environment is false, whereas in the production environment is true. Currently I'm using this flag, but you can use whatever flag you wish to use. So now if we go to the browser, we will see the following, that here we have this is my setting, and of course this is the setting load by this code. To give it a try and see how this works, we have to build our application. I will use the ng build with the configuration production. This is the deployed application, and now let's go to the this directory, and I will use HTTP server. Please check the comments to see how to install the HTTP server from npm. I will use HTTP server into the port, let's say 8080. I think this is the default port as well. And if we go to the browser, we see that the code tried to load the config.json, it failed. We couldn't find it. Of course, we couldn't find it because we didn't upload it yet, but also the application crashed. And this is the reason that I explained previously, that if we do not resolve, our application will crash. If we now copy this file, the config.json, and paste it here or upload it and reload the application, everything seems to work just fine. And here we have the hey there, and this is my setting dov.api. Nice, but wait a minute. How about if for any reason I do not have into my application the config.json? For this one, we have to handle the error, and I will use the catch error operator. And here I know that I have my error, and I will do the following. For the setting service base URL, let's say that I want to have something default, and I want to return off null, which means that I do not want to rethrow the error. This would be here. And now let's rebuild the application. Let's go to this directory, and again let's use the HTTP server into this port, and let's hard reload, and we can see that the application didn't crash, and here we have the default API. Nice. And now if we grab this config.json, and if we upload it or paste it here, let's go to the browser, just refresh, and here we can see that we have the dev API. So this is our deployed application, which means that if I change this from dev to UAT or whatever and just reload, we expect to see the change here. So that was it. Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe and click the ring bell. See you in the next video.